Hello and welcome again to another episode of Elephants in a Room, where we talk about a little bit of everything. And today I wanted to take the time to go over something that I heard as I got older. It was a sort of like a monologue from a popular radio host, and the gentleman's name was Paul Harvey. And one of his mantras was every time he said his speeches or whatever, he'd say, "Paul Harvey, good day," and you kind of got used to it because he was a common sense person, and the way he broke down the day's activities or a story, it had you wanting for more. Not because the story was necessarily crazy exciting or was, salacious, but it was just facts. He made you think. I think he's probably one of the greatest radio hosts out there. And ever since I heard that, I used to want to say, man, I can't wait to be on the radio one day. And, it never matriculated, obviously. I didn't get on the radio. But now, here we are now in 2022, and I'm much, much, much older than what I was when I first heard this. But he made you, again, he made you think. Now, what I'm gonna read out is the part where he talked as if he were the devil, and people were like, oh my God, here we go with this religious stuff. But I think people need to hear it out. Now, when Paul Harvey, when he wrote this and he put it on the radio and he went over this was in 1965. I want to repeat this. When If I Were the Devil was penned by Paul Harvey, it was in 1965. Today is December 22nd, 2022. So, with that being said, I'm going to read out the different paragraphs, and I'm going to stop for a moment, and I'm going to break the paragraph down, or at least give a quick synopsis, and then I'm going to continue on. Here we go. If I were the devil, if I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness. I'd have a third of its real estate and 4/5 of its population. But I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree, thee. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert its churches first. I'd begin a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. Okay, that's the first paragraph. People have to understand that our churches have been attacked, whatever church you may go to, whether it's the Muslim faith, Hindu faith, Christianity, Catholicism, whatever faith you believe in, those foundational things about the church have been attacked and subverted. The do as you please thing. Now in churches, it's 2022. Now in churches, it's customary for people to think they should do whatever they please, irregardless of the church doctrine or the biblical standards that have been set for that particular religion. Do as you please. In America, it's so prevalent because that's what everybody is doing. Little boys want to be little girls, and little girls want to be little boys. And then some of them, they don't know what they want to be. They want to be non-binary, binary. They want to identify as this and identify as that. Young ladies want to be in male sports, and males want to be in young lady sports. So we are in a period of time, especially in the United States, where people are doing exactly as they please. So the foundational things that set America apart have been torn to seams. The foundational things that made this country great are breaking down. Today is the 22nd of December, 2022, and there's a border crisis going on. And people want to come to the United States because the United States has sold this idea of the American dream. And by all accounts, if you kind of work hard and do what you're supposed to do, you can still get the American dream. At least you used to be able to. I think right now we're kind of like in a American nightmare, sort of, you know? But I'll go forward. Next paragraph. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's good is bad and what's good is square. And the old, I would teach them to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. Now, you can take that a couple different ways because the government would have you believe that everything they say is the gospel. There's a report out just the other day. The FBI, they were suppressing speech because they don't want the narrative to be any different than what they deem it to be. The administration that's in the White House, they want to create the narrative. And people don't understand, there was a law passed some years ago that the United States could perform propaganda against its own people. Propaganda is basically a lie to this people. And that's going on right now. Next paragraph. And then I get organized. I educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull, uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. Now, think back, folks. Hollywood. 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 TV programming. TV programming. Our society in the United States is a direct correlation of what's watched on TV. People get their ideas of success, of sexuality, of moral standards, and a lot of other things from what they see on TV. So, if you take these, and also the music, how could I forget about that? The music. People making the music. They're making the music. Some of these folks are high as a kite, drinking. You watch folks in Hollywood come on TV and they spew their opinions, but these are some of the most messed up people on the planet. In Hollywood, we have them and the most pedophiles and folks raping and all kinds of stuff happening out there. These are the people that are high on pills, cocaine, and all kind of other drugs. Pedophilia. These are the things that are being spewed from that platform, the Hollywood platform. These things have been spewing for years. There was a gentleman named Tom DeLay. It was in the political arena some years back. And he stated how the government wanted to have X amount of just this crazy sin things come about and be made legal. Sleeping with younger folks. And the list goes on. He stated that these things were coming. And this was in the 90s when he came out with that. Now, If I Were the Devil was written in 1965. So you got to understand, Paul Harvey had some kind of insight. Next paragraph. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect disciplined emotions. Just let those run wild until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Let's stop there. Have families at war with themselves. There is a concerted effort in the United States to not identify families. The breakdown of the family unit. So now the families have been broken up. And we wonder why male and females can identify with a certain standard. Churches at war with themselves. There's more mess in the churches than in any place else. The church is a place you should go to for spiritual help, if that's what you choose to believe. The church is a place where you go for some kind of comfort. But I got to tell you, there's more hell in churches right now than there's ever been. There's more hell in the family households than what there's ever been. Nations at war with themselves. America is supposed to be the United States of America. And we have not been so divided in I don't know when. This isn't a Donald Trump thing. It isn't even a Joe Biden thing. But there is some hand, whatever you may believe in, if you believe in good and evil, there's some hand that's leading and directing this. This isn't happenstance that nations are at war with themselves. A nation divided cannot stand. A household divided cannot stand. A church divided cannot stand. Our schools. We're not teaching curriculum. We're not teaching morality. We're not teaching young men and women how to conduct themselves and control themselves and conduct business and be a productive member of society. No, we're not teaching that anymore. We're teaching sexuality, gender confusion. Johnny, I think you should be called Johnny May now. Johnny May, I think you're going to be Johnny now. Never in history have we had so many shootings at schools. Life means nothing because we're not teaching the value of life. We're not teaching what the soul is and what the soul should be doing. We're not teaching these things. And the last sentence, before you know it, you have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. There's some schools, when the kids are in class, the drug-sniffing dogs are coming by lockers and smelling. There's some schools and some cities where they're forced to have metal detectors so they can try to protect the students from one another or even the teachers. Next paragraph. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbols of an Easter egg and the symbol of the Christmas bottle, or the symbol of Christmas, a bottle. Stop. Now, this was written in 1965. And he says within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. The United States has more people locked up than most of the world combined. I'd have judges promoting pornography all day. God has been kicked out of schools. There used to be a time you could pray. Because I'll be honest with you, prayer needs to be in school. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls. Now, it's come out that the Catholic Church, and not just the Catholic Church though, a lot of these priests were doing things to altar boys. In the regular churches, Baptist churches and other churches, there were things done to children, pedophilia, and it was covered up over years and years. And misusing church money. There is no excuse for homelessness in the United States. On any given Sunday, churches are taking in a multitude of dollars. But if you go to certain churches, they say you should bless the pastor. The man of God should live a certain type of life. But I always thought the blessing was for the people, not just the pastor. We so commercialized Easter and Christmas that, it doesn't mean anything. And I say this because whether you believe in church or whatever your religion is, there has to, even an atheist, there has to be some standard in your life that keeps you within a framework. There has to be a standard. If you go to a job, there's a standard. If you drive on a highway and you get out of your lane, you will get hit by another car. There's a standard. If you're cooking on a stove and you're cooking a certain meat or a certain dish, it has to be cooked at a certain standard, a certain temperature to receive a certain outcome. Next sentence. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who want until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. Now, in America, there's this thing called a income tax return. And a lot of times people who have not contributed end up getting a check. But not just that. There's a lot of programs that we have, some to help. There's not all programs are bad. Some things we need to help each other. But not to the detriment that you kill the chicken that's laying the eggs. Because I'll be honest with you, I'm not an inventor. But I'm thankful for the person that invented the stove. I'm thankful for the person who invented the refrigerator. I'm thankful for the person who has done a lot of these things and made my life comfortable and convenient. So I'm not for killing the goose that laid the golden egg or that is laying the golden eggs. Next paragraph. And what do you bet I could get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes, and I would work in patriotism and moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, and what you see on the TV is the way to be. And thus, I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep on doing what he's doing. And his last sentence was Paul Harvey. Good day. Now, there are states that are fighting against gambling and states that are fighting for gambling. Everybody has the reason, well, we need the tax dollars so we can do this, and we need the tax dollars so we can do that. Not realizing that if we just did what we were supposed to do with the money in the first place, we wouldn't need gambling. Convincing the young that marriage is old-fashioned. Well, you didn't have to convince the LGBTQ crowd that marriage is old-fashioned because that's what they're fighting for. Apparently, they see value in marriage, and it's promoted there, but it's not promoted when it's heterosexual. I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there's no cure. Right now, you have all kinds of diseases out there that afflict folks from sexual immorality. But the last sentence, he said, if I were the devil, I'd just keep on doing what he's doing. If I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing. And that's what he's doing. And again, I don't know who will ever hear this, but this man wrote this in 1965, and it directly correlates to 2022, and obviously beyond where we're going. Was Paul Harvey, was he a Nostradamus or somebody of that order? No. I just think that he was somebody who could see the writing on the wall. Sort of like a George Carlin type. You know, George Carlin was a comedian who, you know, he talked about the government and just general life issues, but he was able to cut through to the meat and see certain things. And that's what Paul Harvey did with this right here. And I always think when I hear this, once in a while it'll come across a feed. I always think, why don't more people hear this? Because more people need to hear this. They need to hear when it was written versus what we have going on right now. If I were the devil, I would X, and I would X. It's like a script. If I didn't know better, I would say somebody took Paul Harvey's paper of all these words here, and they were doing it before, but now it's like somebody's executing, like, you know what, hold on, we missed something. We got to get that too. We got to do this too. This country, United States of America, has the potential to be the greatest country ever. But we are destroying ourselves from within. If you go to church, it says, if the foundations be destroyed, what shall the righteous do? And right now, the foundations are being destroyed brick by brick by brick. Whether you're a Christian or Muslim or any other religion, whether you're an atheist, whether you're a good old country boy, whether you're a street dude, or whatever you are, the foundations are being broken. What shall the righteous do? Well, this is Ed Walters. I want to thank you again for listening to the elephants in the room. I look forward to talking to you again.